All right, everybody. Guess what? As you can see, it's January 2022. Wow. It's time to supercharge our learning. AKA, I read a good book about teaching over break called Powerful Teaching. All right. But don't worry. You know, I've been teaching. But it helped me understand some of the things that we do, why they work, and even how to do some additional things to make your learning even stronger. Okay, so let's get going. First thing is pencils down. I know it's crazy to hear me say that, but just for a minute, have your notebook out, have your pencil out, but I am going to give you a specific time to write things down rather than just pausing the video whenever you like. Okay, so it's just going to be a little bit of a delay. So pencils down, bro. All right, first thing, powerful. Let me move my little picture here. Powerful teaching, powerful learning and teaching uses the following tools: retrieval practice, R; spacing, S; interleaving, I; and feedback-driven metacognition. Everyone say feedback-driven metacognition, FDM. Okay, so we got, say RSIFDM. All right. So the first thing is, in the way of everything, retrieval practice. Okay. So this is recalling to mind what you have learned or need to remember. So if you think about something you need to remember once a year, like, maybe on the holidays you make something, or maybe your mom makes something and she always has to take the rest, or your dad makes something and they always have to take the recipe out and see what, I know my mom. Okay, let's just use my mom for an example. She always makes hot German potato salad because my brother likes it. She always has to take that recipe out because she makes it like once a year. And that's because when you retrieve something once a year, you're not giving your brain enough retrieval to remember it. So if we learn something in September and then next year you have to remember it, of course you don't remember it, right? But if we have to remember something once a month, then we are going to remember it long term. Okay, so when we do things that we did last month or last week again, that's good. That makes it stick. All right. And this is not just for you guys. This is for people of all ages. Retrieval. I did not make this up. This is coming from people who study learning as a science, psychologists. Okay. So we are going to do things like brain dumps, if I've ever told you, or you've ever written down everything you could remember at the top of your quiz. That's an example of a brain dump. Right now we're going to do some retrieve taking during this video, and at the end we'll do two things. So these are different retrieval practices. Okay, right now I want you to do a brain dump. Okay, I know that sounds weird, but someone when we get back to school is going to say, how was your break? And you're going to say it was good, and you're going to think, what did I do over break? So take 2 minutes. All right, so pause, set a timer somewhere for 2 minutes and write down everything you can think of that you did over break. And I am even going to pause the video and I'm going to do it too. Alexa, stop. All right, so that was my 2 minutes. I wrote down 5 things, but I found that in my brain, I was really focused, trying to go back through the days and think about the different things that I did, Anyway, so you can write down what you could think of. And when you do that, it's a really healthy thing for learning, okay? So it may feel like Am I really doing something special? Yes, you are. And it's not Mr. Field's opinion. It's the science of learning. Okay, you can Google retrieval practice after this video, or pause it if you want to, and see that, hey, retrieval practice is something that people are really talking about. All right, moving on. And I Googled retrieval practice myself, and I found this little graphic, right? The act of being quizzed helps students learn better because you're retrieving. Recall information without it in front of you. Yep, that is important. Okay, so less time as teachers pushing learning in, more time getting students to pull learning out. So it's about seeing what you know rather than me just telling you a bunch of things. Okay, so we want to get that information out of you. Flashcards are good, but don't flip them before you try to retrieve. You ever use flashcards? Do you ever say, I don't know this, and then just flip and look at the answer? Don't do that. Let your brain think for a little bit. Give yourself to the count of 10 before you flip it over, and let your brain have that retrieval time. The more that you do that, even though it's a little frustrating in the middle there when you can't remember, over time you'll get better and better. And we just did a brain dump. And oh, I don't know what that says. Kahoot. Oh, clickers. Oh, I don't use clickers anymore. Come on. Time for think, pair, share. We'll do that. Okay, we'll talk about spacing. So this is just a good graphic about things we're going to talk about. All right, pencils up. Pick up your pencil, get your paper out, and write down. Pause this video and write down everything that we've talked about so far about, can you remember the 4 powerful learning tools? And also what we talked about retrieval. And anything you can't remember, don't worry, we're going to check it after and you can correct yourself. But without, going back, and don't peek, don't cheat, don't do anything like that, because then you won't be retrieving and you won't be engaging in powerful learning. All right, so pause this video and do some retrieve taking. Okay, you've unpaused it. If you finished your retrieve taking, let's check yourself. Oh, let me go back. Forgot. Okay, did you remember the 4 learning tools? Retrieval practice, spacing, interleaving, and feedback-driven metacognition. If you didn't remember them, you can pause the video and you can write them down now, add them to your notes. And then also retrieval. So it's all about recalling to mind what you've learned or need to remember. Brain dumps, 2 things we'll do at the end, and retrieve taking, which you hopefully just did. All right. The next is spacing. Okay, I found this little space bar game. I don't know if you've ever played that. I've never played that. I'm not going to play it, but hit the space bar as many times as you can. Evidently, that's the thing. Okay, but spacing is when you leave time between when you practice a concept. Have you ever went back and done an old Khan Academy assignment for practice? If you've never done that, then you still can. And if you have done that, that's spacing. When you go back and try something again later, a week later, a month later, that's not a waste of time. That is a valuable use of your time. And the brain science backs that up, okay? So you need to know that. When we do old stuff, when we go back in the organizer, that is time that you might really actually be learning, you see? Because what happens is I show you something, you forget it, you remember it, and then that's when the learning happens, okay? Just like I said about remembering something once a month, and then you'll learn it for a long time. That's spacing, and that's how your brain works. We forget stuff. Are we going to stop forgetting stuff? No, as you get older, you'll forget more because there's more to remember, and your brain just that's how it goes. But you can remember it, and when you remember it, then you put it in your long-term memory. Okay, so that's spacing. So how can you use spacing outside of class time? I answered one question for you. Go back and redo old Khan Academy assignments, and we'll be intentional about that. But just know you can do that on your own. Anything that you've put red problems in, go back, do it again. Anything you've put yellow problems in, go back, do it again. And that's how you're going to grow as a learner. Okay, and so write down everything you learned about spacing. Retrieval taking. Okay, so hopefully you did that. If you didn't, go back, do it again, or do it for the first time. So spacing, simple, right? Leave time between practice on a given concept. Did you get it? Didn't say a lot. And so once a month, if we re-hit very important assignments once a month, if we go back this month and we graph lines in slope-intercept form and standard form, and if we solve a system of equations, even though we haven't done that in a couple months, yeah, you're going to feel the struggle of trying to remember it. But that is your brain putting it into your that's your brain saying, oh yeah, I remember, okay. Or maybe if you didn't learn it the first time, you're making some new connections, and then it's going from your one part of your memory to your long-term memory. I don't know, the working memory, the short-term, whatever it is. But I know you'll be learning. Okay, so now the third one is called interleaving. Okay, and remember, pencils down. You're not writing down everything here. But interleaving is something we naturally do in math, but not all the time. And it's not the most fun thing to do, but it's one of the most powerful things that you can do. All right, what is it? It's working on similar looking problems that require different strategies. So if I put, for my geometry example, 2 right triangle problems, one where you have to find the area and one where you use the Pythagorean theorem, or if we put 2, simple, if I put 2 exponent problems, and one you have to add the exponents, one you have to multiply, or 2 graphs of lines, and one is in slope-intercept and one is in standard, Or how about this one? So I did to the Math 8 kids. One said find the intercepts of the line, and one said graph the line, or something like that. That is interleaving, when the problems look the same, but what you actually have to do to solve it is different. When you have to do problems like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they all look the same, but the strategies are different. That is really making your brain work, but it's really making your brain work to learn. Okay, so it's called, going down to the bottom, that's called productive struggle. All right, so when you feel that struggle, and we know the struggle is real, right? But it's good. And when you get to the end of it, you will have learned in the most meaningful way. Okay, so the other way we do a lot is blocking. When I give you those Khan Academy assignments, they're blocked. They're all using the same strategy, and you practice that strategy, 5 or 6 or 7 times, and you do learn. But then we need to go back and before the quiz, do one problem from each assignment. Go through, pull up all assignments, in different tabs, and then go through the tabs and do one problem from each assignment, and then do number 2 from each assignment, and then you'll be doing interleaving. And if you do that, if we do that on Monday night, that is going to help you guys so much. All right, I'm excited. So blocking during the week and then spacing during the end of the week when you feel like you're starting to get it. Spacing versus interleaving. So spacing means leaving time in between doing the concepts. So when we bring concepts together, there will be space between when you did the strategy the last time. So interleaving, part of the reason why you won't like it so much is because of the spacing. But remember, spacing is good. All right. I know that was a lot, but feel that productive struggle, pause the video and write down everything you can remember about what I just said about interleaving. Then I'll give you a chance to check yourself. All right, check yourself. Did you remember what interleaving was? Did you remember my examples? Did you remember that the Khan Academy assignments are blocked? Did you remember that interleaving involves spacing? And did you remember productive struggle? All right, the last one, and then we're all done. Feedback-driven metacognition. This one sounds the most challenging, but it's going to be the most familiar to you because we already do it. All right, this is one of those things I'm saying, I know it's important and we do it naturally, but it has a name, and the brain scientists are backing us up. This is why this organizer is so helpful. They have researched it. Okay, so this is about thinking about your learning, right? When we put things in the red, yellow, green, we're thinking about our learning. And that's called metacognition. Metacognition is actually thinking about thinking, but we're at school, so we're thinking about learning. And then feedback, right? When you put things in the red and yellow, then we go over it, you're getting feedback. And when we help each other, and we're giving each other feedback. Okay, and then when you think about what level you're at, and then I give you feedback and tell you what level you're at, then that's metacognition. Okay, so when you do that, that's a very powerful tool for your learning. And you need to know, and maybe you have already experienced, that you default to thinking you know more than you do. How many of you have gotten a lower level or a lower grade than you thought you were going to earn on the quiz? I think there's a lot of you that happened to, and that's okay. That is a very natural thing to do. But the more we do it, the more accurate our assessment of our learning is going to be. And hey, that just sounds powerful. I mean, but it is. All right, so there's 4 steps to metacognition. This is the last slide here. So what you do is you put a star next to the things you know, or a question mark next to the things you don't. So when you're doing that interleaving practice, and you write down the questions, you write down the 4 questions, and you can put a star next to the ones you can do and a question mark next to the ones you can't do. If you're at the point when you can't do some of them, that's okay. Then you do all the star problems without help. You look up or press hint and find the solution to the ones you don't. Hey, this might be something that we do. You could do interleaving at the beginning instead of let's do the whole assignment. Let's do an interleaved introduction to the material, and where we put a star next to the ones you think you can do, and then a question mark next to the ones that you need more help on. And then, of course, verify that, press the check button, verify your stars are correct. And when you do it in this way, there's brain science behind the success you'll see later on. All right, so email a friend, email one other classmate on the call, yeah, in class. So I should probably say in our class about what you have learned about powerful learning, right? And then write down 2 things that you learned today about learning, and be prepared to share it when we all meet on Zoom. Okay? And this is our Edpuzzle video for this week, because you know, we're going to do some new things to make our class even better, because it's a new year. And so I hope that you've learned some things about your own learning, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.